Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and I'm happy to say that somebody over to Xbox and Bethesda are finally listening. They just released their big Fallout 4 Next Generation update, which revealed an unexpected but very welcome addition. This could actually be a sign for more to come down the line. This could even affect some of Xbox's other games as well, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. However, we do have some unfortunate news as well for various studios and fans, so do make sure to stay tuned for all of the latest on that. But as usual, hit those buttons below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like these daily gaming news dose videos. That way, every time I post a new video, it'll be delivered directly to your device. But with that said, let's just go and get right into it, starting off with Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. As strange as it might sound, the 20-year-old remaster is Nintendo's most anticipated game this year so far, or at least until we get more announcements. Crossing my fingers for a soonish Nintendo Direct. Come on, Nintendo. Let's make it happen. But nonetheless, Paper Mario will be out next month on May 23rd. Now, personally, I'm a huge fan of the classic Paper Mario games, so I'm super excited about its launch next month, but there are still questions left unanswered. Just exactly how different will this remake be compared to the original? Well, early previews went out today, so we do now have a better understanding. Definitely go check those previews out if you're interested, but for the most part, the remake sounds mostly faithful with some quality of life improvements. One example is that you can swap your partners without going to a menu. You can just simply press a button in the overworld, and you can cycle through them, which, you know, that might sound like a small thing, but that's still a very welcome change. My big question, though, and I've mentioned this before, has been about the difficulty. I was less than pleased that Nintendo decided to make Super Mario RPG last year easier than what it originally already was. If anything, it needed an option to be more challenging, not less. So there's been some concern that they could do the same thing with Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, but so far, that doesn't seem to be the case. Sounds like its difficulty will pretty much be the same, but there will be a few quality of life options that kind of helps players perfect their experience. In that sense, it might be easier, but not necessarily with the combat per se. So I think as long as that remains true, then I think that this is great news. But, I mean, I guess we'll see. What I will say, though, is that those early previews so far are looking really good, so do make sure to check them out if you're interested. Now, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a mixed bag today, and that included a confirmation that there will be no Blizzcon for 2024. Now, you can read their statement here, which says, "After careful consideration over the last year, we at Blizzard have made the decision not to hold Blizzcon in 2024. We're excited to bring Blizzcon back in future years, and we still have some exciting plans for events in 2024. So if you're a fan of Blizzcon, don't necessarily worry, it's not gone forever." Now, this is actually not the first year that they've skipped out on BlizzCon either, but looking at this announcement, I guess it could kind of speak towards a few different things. On the more optimistic side, maybe Blizzard will show up at the Xbox Summer Showcase with some exciting news there. They are under the Xbox umbrella now, and I'm sure Xbox would like to make that loud and clear. So I wouldn't be overly surprised if Blizzard makes some kind of an appearance at their Summer Showcase. In fact, Blizzard said that they do still have some exciting plans for events in 2024. That is their exact words. So they could be referring to something like the Xbox Summer Showcase. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to reveal a brand new game there or anything like that, and that's certainly not what I would go in expecting to see. But they do have the Diablo 4 expansion set for later this year. I imagine Xbox would like to highlight something like that and kind of display how it's a part of Xbox Game Pass now. So, no BlizzCon, but maybe they'll at least show up as something like the Xbox Showcase in some capacity. All right, so speaking of Xbox, though, them and Bethesda just dropped a massive Fallout 4 update. I mean, they revealed that they were going to drop a new update a few weeks back, so this isn't like some shadow drop or anything. But now that we have the specific details as to what it is, I think that this is actually even better than what was originally expected. They went all out on this update, and you know what? Let's just go over some of the details here. And then I want to talk about a significant inclusion that might be a sign for more to come. We'll come back to that in just a second. But this update includes new story content. For those looking for it, they said the quest is called Echoes of the Past and starts on the road north of Saugus Ironworks. So make sure to visit that location if you want some new story-related content. This update also includes the new makeshift weapons pack, a new Halloween workshop, and a ton of bug fixes for each platform. Yeah, Bethesda no more. They got that repellent out, but this is where I think things start to get really interesting. They revealed its new features for each platform, and check this out. So on the PC, it'll get widescreen support, and it'll now be Steam Deck verified, which is great news. I'm a big Steam Deck fan myself, and I actually do have Fallout on Steam as well, so I might have to go give that a try. Then on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, they'll now have native next-generation applications, and players will have the option to choose from 2 different game modes. One being Performance Mode, where it'll target 60 frames per second at 4K resolution using standard settings with dynamic resolution scaling. If you want to play it on ultra settings though, with all of the bells and whistles, you do have the option to play it like that on quality mode, where it targets 30 FPS unless you have a 120 Hz display, in which case it'll actually target 40 frames per second. There it is. I have been talking about this for a long time on a channel. More games needs to offer this as an option. I get it, 40 FPS might not sound like a big difference compared to 30 frames per second, but it absolutely is. And I think especially if you play on an OLED TV. People don't like to talk about this for whatever reason, but I will, because I think that it's important for people to know. OLED TVs, while they're great, they are a double-edged sword. The reason for that is because of their instant response time. On one side, they feel absolutely amazing when you play something at 60 frames per second. They offer, bar none, the best 60 FPS gaming experience. On 30 FPS, though, it's a different story, because there's so much judder introduced. To some people, they feel nearly broken compared to other types of displays. Now, to be fair, not everybody seems to notice this problem as much, but it's definitely a thing that a lot of people have a problem with. So this 40 FPS option just all around is such a welcome addition. It's really that perfect middle ground to have. I mean, no, it's still not going to feel quite as good as 60 frames per second, but it is a good middle ground, and it also gives you the option to play games on those higher settings without that massive 30 FPS sacrifice. In Fallout 4, you're basically choosing to play with ultra settings or with standard settings, and I think that if you have a 120 Hz display, that ultra setting actually sounds pretty enticing. It might actually be the new ideal way for a lot of people to play. So yes, I absolutely love this conclusion, and more so because this could be a sign for more to come. The fact that this is coming from Bethesda, out of all companies, I think is very interesting, just because this tells you that they are paying attention. They're listening to that fan feedback, because it wasn't even a year ago when a lot of people brought up this exact topic with Starfield. You know, a lot of people last year were upset about Starfield being 30 FPS only on the Xbox Series. And while that's understandable to an extent, just considering its scope, but there were a lot of requests for a 40 frames per second option. Is that possible? And the fact that Bethesda, out of all companies, are experimenting with that for another game, being Fallout 4, that could be a sign that we could see something similar, hopefully, for Starfield in the future as well. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a guarantee, but it is a good sign nonetheless, especially if the fan reception for Fallout's 40 FPS option is strong enough. If enough people like it and play with that option, that will certainly catch the attention of both Bethesda as well as Xbox. Yes, this could also affect Xbox as a whole, just considering they do own Bethesda, so they're going to see all that feedback as well. For that matter, this could even put the entire game industry on high alert. Make 40 FPS a new standard option, and fans will love you for it. I've been saying it for a while now, and it's great to see a big popular game like this included, because it does give this topic a whole lot more recognition. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Will you dive back into Fallout 4 with this new update, and if so, which game mode will you play it in? I think for me, as long as it feels good enough, I'm probably going to go with that 40 FPS option myself. Now, one more thing about this Fallout 4 update that you should know, though, is that even though it's advertised as free if you already own the game, there has been a problem with the PlayStation Plus edition. If you redeemed your ownership through PlayStation Plus, for whatever reason, it's not recognizing its update as a free upgrade and instead is asking players to pay. However, rest assured, Bethesda has already responded and said that this is a mistake. They said that they are working on a fix, so again, just rest assured, do not pay for that upgrade. Now, moving on though, we do have some unfortunate news for a couple games, and I think the first one here is probably going to be a bit more upsetting, just depending on if you like the Watch Dogs series. According to a known leaker that goes by the name of Jonathan, claimed that the Watch Dogs series is now dead and buried. He said that the Legion's failure basically killed any future projects that it had, including a fairly original battle royale. Now, honestly, if this is true, I think that this is such a shame, just because as a series, it never really felt like Ubisoft capitalized on its true potential. I still remember when they first revealed the original game for the PlayStation 4, and it was really that welcome to the next generation moment. It looked amazing at the time, and they just revealed some crazy new gameplay ideas that we had never really seen in another game before. It was very impressive, but they just never lived up to that trailer and to those ideas. Now, the first two games were still solid, but they just seemingly couldn't put everything together. So, I don't know. It's too bad, really, because even now, I think the idea of this series, the idea of an Ultimate Hacker in a GTA-like game, I think is rather interesting. So to see them give up on it like this, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's Ubisoft, so I guess I probably shouldn't be all that surprised. Now, as for this other game, though, reportedly, People Can Fly notified their investors that they canceled their AAA cooperative action RPG codenamed Project Dagger. It apparently was in development for several years and had a big focus on melee combat. But Take-Two, they dropped this project back in 2022. They decided they didn't want to publish it anymore, but even still, People Can Fly continued to work on it as an independent group, or at least until now. I guess they ultimately decided that Take-Two was right, and they canceled it. I mean, it's hard to say too much about this game just because we really don't know much about it, but People Can Fly is a pretty good studio, and I think are at least worth paying attention to. This is the same studio behind Bulletstorm and Outriders, so it's not exactly ideal to see them have a setback like this. I mean, we've seen a lot of layoffs in the last couple years, and to have a big AAA cancellation like this, it's not exactly a good sign for their studio. I wish them all the best, though, and I guess we'll just have to kind of see what happens. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but again, do let me hear your thoughts about that Fallout 4 update. Are you going to play it on quality mode, or are you going to play it with performance? But until next time, peace out.